So the Elder Scrolls franchise, the Elder Scrolls games, and this style of RPG, for me, is the greatest style of RPG ever in the history of humankind. Skyrim is still to this day a game I go back to and I play, and I still discover things in this game. This is the height of Bethesda and their RPGs. I know a lot of people point to Fallout. I like Fallout, but not as much as Elder Scrolls. And with the rumored Oblivion remake about to drop, there's a shadow drop rumor happening, or people are talking about a shadow drop. I don't know. I'm looking for the words. I don't have a script. But it'll probably drop into Game Pass if you're a Game Pass subscriber. I know that's like talking about Satan in 2025. But it'll be cool if it drops there. You know, why spend the money if you don't want to spend the money? But for games like this, I know I like them. I know I want to own them. And you probably know that too. So you'll probably just buy the game wherever you are. But I wanted to look back at Skyrim. And the reason I wanted to look back at Skyrim is because it got that anniversary update, and these new consoles are pushing teraflops and gigaflops and whatever to make games look great. And I wanted to look at the PS5 version of Skyrim versus the Xbox Series X version of Skyrim. Now, I put tons of time into the Xbox version of the game because the game originally came out on the Xbox. I spent tons of time with it. My save file transferred over. When it got updated graphically, I went back in and played through the game with my save file, and I'm still rummaging around the world of Skyrim, discovering things even after completing the main campaign many, many moons ago. But, like most of you, the PlayStation 5 is the system that everyone has, that everyone's choosing. And it is difficult to, stay on the Xbox when everybody's jumping to the PlayStation 5, and all the Xbox games are going to PlayStation 5. So I wanted to look back at Skyrim. I wanted to look at it on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and decide which one is the best. So let's get going. Here we are on the PlayStation 5, walking into this magnificent town of Whiterun. Look at the smoke coming out of the fire pit. That is next-gen smoke, people. Take a look at the lighting here, the stars, the trees. Everything looks crystal clear, very crisp, very clean. It has a sheen to it that I haven't seen since Charlie Sheen and Tiger's Blood. So this is my character that I created. I just started the game on the PlayStation 5. Unfortunately, my save file won't transfer over. Obviously, it's a different console, but she's a warrior slash confused young woman whose father didn't buy her a pony for her 16th birthday and then decided to go out and commit mass murder. It's her dad's fault, not her mom's. So let's walk around and take a look at everything here. The water, obviously this is a game born during the Xbox 360, PS3 generation. If you remember that, I mean, the PS3 version of this game was god-awful because of that cell processor and the problems that it just created for everyone. We're still feeling the problems from that today, by the way. Every single game during this generation on the PlayStation 3 just isn't playable natively on the PlayStation 5. You've got to stream it, which is awful. So let's climb to the top here, take a look at the town, look around, look at that draw distance, try and pick out some key details here so that when we go to the Xbox Series X version, you can either say it looks better or it looks worse down there in the comments section and fight each other over which plastic box is actually the one that everyone on the planet Houston needs to purchase. That's a reference from Superman way back in the day. All right, we're going to walk around a little bit more before we get to the Xbox Series X version. We'll go outside here in the town. We'll check the load times going from one point to the next, and then we'll change the time of day so that you can see a little bit more detail. But I think the game looks great here. Very clean, very soft. Let's open the door here and we'll count. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000. 7 seconds around. Let's make it 8 seconds. Let's round it up just to be fair. Let's walk over here, check out the draw distance again. When we hop down here, we'll change the time of day and we'll look around, and then we'll switch to the Xbox Series X version of the game. I'm going to do my professional YouTuber voice here for a second. This is the PlayStation 5 version of Elder Scrolls running on the PlayStation 5, taking advantage of all of the CPU and GPU cycles in that system. And next, we will be discussing the differences on the Xbox Series X. So let's walk around. Let's look around. Look at those trees. This is still a great looking game, by the way. Let's flash forward in time so that the sun comes out and we can see how everything looks. So it's around 6 a.m. Still some overcast. The sun not quite piercing through the clouds. Overcast days never turned me on. But there's something about the clouds in her midst. That's a Prince reference, by the way. All right, let's walk around here. We'll head up here to the road. I remember there being a tree with some butterflies flying around it here. Obviously, it's going to be in every version of the game, but it's something that you can key in on when you compare and contrast these games. Take a look at the foliage, take a look at the colors. Now, the colors are different. These systems render colors differently in almost every game. You either like it on one or you hate it on the other. It's not that big a deal, but I do notice it quite a bit going from one console to the next. So obviously this is the definitive version of Skyrim, the anniversary edition on the PlayStation 5. I think Digital Foundry said that the PlayStation 5 version runs at a slightly higher resolution than the Xbox Series X version. But here we are, walking into the town of Whiterun on the Xbox Series X. Take a look up, take a look down, look at that next-gen smoke. And everything looks pretty similar. Now, you let me know down there in the comments section if you think one looked better than the other. Later on, we're going to have them side by side so that you can really argue it out down there in the comments section and let me know if I'm crazy or not. So here is my, huge mage build. I've got the enchanted robes that make my magicka increase very quickly. I've got the Mask of Mordecai on, 100% regeneration skill. The robes are 100% regeneration skill. I've got a ring that's 100% regeneration skill. So my magicka, when I'm using it, goes down a little bit and then right up. I can pretty much cast the spell indefinitely because of that. So let's walk back up here. The same scenes as the PlayStation 5 version, looking up at the tree here. And some things that I've noticed in particular are shadowing is a bit more pronounced on the PlayStation 5 version. Looking down at the floor here, than the Xbox Series X version. That's about the only thing that I could spot. I'll tell you at the end of this video which version I think is the better version. Same scene here. Let's look around the town. Remember that draw distance that I talked about when we were looking at the PlayStation 5 version of the game. And then we'll walk down here. Walk down the steps here. Let's go. Let's go. Walk down the steps here. This is right about the time I talked about the planet Houston and why I'm going to tell you which version of this game you should be buying. And then we'll head outside here. We'll count that door, the load screens between one area and the next, the load times between one area and the next, I meant to say. But I said it incorrectly. So I'm not sure you can spot much of a difference. There are things that I've noticed as far as like the controller preferences and stuff like that. That's obviously subjective. 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000, 4, 1005, 1006, 1000. No, it's about 7 seconds. So there are faster load times on the Series X. That's obviously been confirmed by Digital Foundry. Let's look around here at the world, checking out the detail, the draw distance, and then we'll hop down here. This is right around the time we started to use our professional YouTuber's voice. The Xbox Series X version of Skyrim utilizes all these cycle-perplexing beacons in the Series X, the 12 teraflops of power on display here on the Xbox Series X. All right, enough of that shit. Let's look around here, go back into third person here, and then we will flash forward time of day. Now, pay attention to the lighting in the game. There's a distinct difference between the lighting in the Xbox Series X version of the Anniversary Edition of Skyrim and the PlayStation 5 version. Does it make it better? Does it make it worse? It's up to you. Let's go to the daytime, roughly the same time. And there's definitely a difference in the color palette and the lighting in the Xbox Series X version that I tend to favor more than the PlayStation 5 version of the game. Now, it's a minor difference. It's minor in the sense that I don't think many people are going to, argue about this back and forth, but it is major enough for me to notice it and to prefer it better than the PlayStation 5 version of the game. Here's that tree with the butterflies flying around. So We'll get up to the scene where we put them side by side. I'll let you look at them and you decide which one is better, which one is worse. Let me know if you've been playing this game. Again, I have. I can't stop playing The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, and I cannot wait for Oblivion when that comes out. So let's take a look at these two games running side by side. I'm not going to tell you which is which. You've got the left and you've got the right. You decide which one looks better. Again, some things that I notice are the color palette and some of the, really all of the objects in one of them seem to be much closer to the screen, much larger, and the other one seems to have some things set back a bit different. On the left, obviously, now, when I've gone into third person, is the PlayStation 5 version of Skyrim, and on the right is the Xbox Series X version of Skyrim. So, you take a look at the little torch here. It has a little bit more detail on it on the PlayStation 5, but not much. The character models obviously look the same. The wall in the background seems to be a little bit sharper in terms of color and texture quality on the PlayStation 5 than the Xbox Series X. And the floor in general, the gravel on the floor, looks to be a little bit more detailed on the PlayStation 5 version. But then you get things like right here where the tree obviously has more shadowing and more detail on it than the PlayStation 5 version of the tree. And now looking down at the shadows, what I talked about earlier on the PlayStation 5 version, they seem to be a little bit more darker and pronounced on the PlayStation 5 than they look on the Xbox Series X. Let's go up here. Take a look at the town, the vista. Pay attention to that draw distance. Do you see more detail in one than the other? I do. Let me know which one you think has the better draw distance, has more detail off in the distance than the other one. Let's walk down the steps here, and we'll hop over, and then we'll hop down. We'll count the load time going from the town to the open world. Didn't switch back to third person on the PlayStation 5 version for some reason, but I did on the Xbox. Again, there's not much of a difference, but there's subtleties that I think can go in favor of one versus the other. I don't think I synced these up, by the way. So 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1000, about 6 seconds for the Xbox. Obviously, on the left, you saw the PlayStation 5 take a little bit longer. Optimization issue. It could load much faster, but I don't think anybody really cares at this point for a game this old. But clearly there are differences. Clearly there's a color palette difference. Clearly there are some differences in texture quality and some graphical effects. But for the most part, I would say if you've spent tons of time on your PlayStation 3 version of Skyrim, unfortunately, nothing really transfers over. So by default, because of backwards compatibility, Skyrim on the Xbox Series X is, for me, the better version because I just don't want to replay the entirety of the game on the PlayStation 5 when I've already played it on the PlayStation 3. That backwards compatibility program is a real shot in the arm for Microsoft and Xbox. Look at the color difference here. Obviously, time of day, I couldn't reproduce it perfectly, but you do see the differences in the foliage, the color palette, and just the overall graphical effects. Look at the draw distance in the background on the left versus the right. So fight it out in the comments section below. Let me know which version is the best version of Skyrim. Let me know if you're excited about the Oblivion remake about to drop. Does it dropping into Game Pass make Game Pass more attractive if you're a fan of the Elder Scrolls series? For me, there are certain games, again, that I know I loved, I know I would purchase. I know that I'm going to not waste the money by buying the game versus just renting it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's up to you. Which version of Skyrim do you think is truly the definitive version? Thanks for watching the video. Think about liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.